Listen, the actual sufferings of Christ is not the beating. All those beating things that you watch on television, Mel Gibson, all those, what do they call Passion of the Christ? It's nothing. Everything you saw there is anything that can be done to any thief today. It's nothing. All those things. Paul was beaten more than Jesus 40 times. So if that physical thing you watch is actually the suffering of Christ, then he didn't suffer. In fact, the worst criminal today has suffered more than Christ. Then there will be no justification to redemption. Listen, the actual sufferings of Christ is not the beating. All those beating things that you watch on television, Mel Gibson, all those, what do they call Passion of the Christ? It's nothing. Everything you saw there is anything that can be done to any thief today. It's nothing. All those things. Paul was beaten more than Jesus 40 times. So if that physical thing you watch is actually the suffering of Christ, then he didn't suffer. In fact, the worst criminal today has suffered more than Christ. Then there will be no justification to redemption. There will be no justification to redemption, because what did he really suffer? So why will I worship him for people flogging him? So the suffering of Christ there is not the flogging. The flogging is a small fragment of this suffering. So we want to get into the details of this suffering, because when you understand the gravity of the suffering, you will reject sickness without thinking. That is, the moment you see sickness, the way you will frown, sickness will disappear. It's not something to negotiate. I don't know who I'm talking to here now, because when you understand the suffering, you will share the glory. I mean, if you're catching what I'm communicating. So all those things, you watch a movie, and most of us, that's our concept of his suffering, and that is nothing. We have not really seen anything. That's why it's a mystery that must be unraveled. I love the way Peter put it. Who, when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously. He committed himself to the righteous judge, and the righteous judge judged him sin, not the one he committed. You will soon catch this. Matthew 27:46. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Take note, this is the first time in the history of Jesus' relationship with God, from incarnation to this point where he's calling God my God. All through his life, he has always called God my Father, my Father, my Father. But for the first time, he couldn't call God Father, he called God God, because at this point he had become sin, and a sinner cannot call God Father, because Father is the spirit of adoption. Who am I talking to here? It's a spirit of adoption that we have received, whereby we cry. Exactly. So nobody can call God Father except he has received the spirit of adoption. Jesus is calling you my God, because at this point he had become sin. He has been judged by the righteous judge, sin, and the righteous judge has given him the right judgment, which was separation, the turning away of his back, and that separation was death. So Jesus died to measure up with Adam's status, because the status of Adam was separation from God. And you know, in Genesis, man walked away from God, and God kept looking for man. God kept looking for man. God kept looking for man. But for the first time on that cross, God walked away from man. God never left man until at that cross. And that cross was where God turned. Now when God turned away from man, man needed a mediator. A mediator that will reconcile him. So Jesus, who died, rose and went to heaven as a mediator. Now don't get me happy. Let's stop there. Are you ready for this? If you're ready for this, shout I hear. John 19:30. When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished, and he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. They didn't collect the ghost from him. Even when he had become sin, nobody could collect his ghost. Even in the state he was as sin, nobody could collect his ghost. Nobody could. How dare you think somebody will just kill you like that? Nobody took his ghost. He was the one that gave it up. Even after God has judged him sin, he was still in control of his ghost. Most churches here, man of God, say, you will not die. The way they will shout amen, you would think death is living in their houses. It shouldn't be found among us. It's death that should be grateful that we have decided to wait. So when we say you shall not die, the way you should say amen, we should be wondering what is happening, because it's not an issue. Amen. No, amen, as if it's a major prayer point. No, nobody takes your life because nobody gave you. If nobody can take God's life, nobody can take your life. Why? Your life is his life. You are hidden in him. You have no life outside him. I am dead. The life that I now live in the flesh, it is no longer. When Christ, who is our life, shall appear, he is our life. Outside him we have no life. Nobody can take Christ's life. Nobody can take my life. Am I teaching here? Because he is our life.